welcome back. Today I'm coming to you with my Kirsten Reads Awards for 24. I've got 24 books which are the best of their kind. This is probably not the 24 best books I read last year. These are just my favourite from different categories. I read 197 books last year, of which about 80 were fantasy. So I'm not probably going to give you 80 books in this video, but what I am going to do is give you like my favorite fantasy book, my favorite crime book. You know the drill. 24 books across a number of categories slightly smaller than 24, and I'm not holding stuff up, but hopefully I will fill in the text. And I'm just going to give you a brief bit, and I'll write the list down below, and it will all be good. So last year I did in fact have a favourite book overall, and it is fantasy. It is historical fantasy with an element of romance, and that is The First Bright Thing by J.R. Dawson. This is an absolutely lovely Jewish, almost magical realism book. Magic comes into the world during World War One. It arrives at people who've experienced particularly horrific experiences. And obviously humans being human, some of them are shit. And so it's not always great for the people who have magic. But we follow a band of magical people who form a circus, and one of them can see the future and one of them can move in time. So they see something big coming. It's set in the interwar period. They see something big coming and they're trying to work out how they can change it, if they can change it at all. And they just see people's lights flicking out through the 1930s, and it's just so it is heartbreaking and lovely and heartwarming and so many good things, and I really love this book, The First Bright Thing by J.R. Dawson. Moving on to our categories, and some of these are a bit cheaty, but we're going to start off with favourite contemporary. And I thought long and hard about this one, but I put in Lost Soul by Malika Gandhi. And this is a story of someone who's why I wasn't sure. She's looking back at her life, but she's a ghost and she's been dead for quite a while. So some of it's sort of earlier, like memoirs of a much earlier time, so it could be considered dual timeline. But in this, her home has been turned into a sort of stately home for tourism purposes, and her descendants, or her like siblings' descendants, are living quite a poor life in the village. And she kind of wants to see how they got there, and she kind of wants to improve their lives. Because they're good people and because they're her family, I don't need a because there. And it's just really heartwarming and really well written. And there's a bit where she's walking through the empty rooms of her former house, and it sort of reminded me of the bit at the beginning of The Secret Garden where Mary is walking through the house and everyone's dead. So yeah. Favourite historical, Manor of the Manor by Armistead. Now this is, I'd almost forgotten what it was like, but it's set in the 80s in England, whereas the rest of the series were written contemporaneously in California. And so this is kind of like a bunch of queer people living their queer lives in the 80s, and it's just lovely. And he just took them up and just kind of picked up where, if you've read any of the other Sex and the City books, he just picked up where it ends. And if you haven't, then definitely go out, and because he really pushes the big issues of the day, like AIDS and gender and creepy cis guys, and yeah, so I can't help but, I'm super religious, or maybe you don't know I'm super religious, but the blessings of the way, so how far we've come since the time when AIDS was almost a tool of oppression. I mean, obviously it didn't start as a tool of oppression, but the powers that be were happy to use it that way. And now here we are, where you can be undetectable. You can be HIV positive and undetectable, and you can have a baby that's not HIV positive. It's just such wonderful how far we've come. Anyway, moving on. Favourite mystery, The Last Word by Elly Griffith. This is the 4th in the Harbinger Core series. And it's just like, I read a lot of crime. I read a lot of Elly Griffith, was my most read author. And I laughed and I cried so much in this book. I was confidently wrong about who the murderer was. And there's just such lovely overarching plot relationships, but also individual book mysteries. So definitely recommend that. And Harbinger herself is just, she's just adorable. Except I didn't like her when I first read it, and I had to get to know her before I liked her. So I think that's really well written. So if you like that mixture of character led, but also plot led overarch, but plot driven individual books, perfect. Okay, so favourite thriller, Dreams of Death by David Thomas. This is the second in a book about time travelling and not time travelling, like walking through people's dreams. What's that called? A neuromancy, maybe? And it's definitely a thriller. It's a bit genre bendy. It's just lovely, and the authorial voice is so lovely, and you just want to be friends with the author. You just want to be friends with the author. Okay, favourite romance, Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I encountered Jimenez's books for the first time in 2024, and I'm so glad I did, because her works are just full of people who talk to each other and they work through their problems in a mature and sensible way. And sure, they have problems, there is drama, but it's reasonable drama that isn't just artificially, well, obviously it is artificially introduced because it's fiction, but it feels quite organic. And so this is, I just like this one the best. They're all really good and all worth a try. Favourite fantasy, Daughter of the Burning City by Amanda Foody. I read this for Circusathon or whatever it was, the Circus Team Readathon way back when. This is an illusionist, but her illusions start dying. And how can that be? Because she made them. And then there's family, and it's dark and it's scary, and there's a mystery, and it all goes wrong, and there's kind of like collapses into a mess, and then it all unravels into something that makes sense. And I love that kind of book. And if you do too, then absolutely, definitely recommend this book. A favourite historical fantasy, On the Nature of Magic by Marian Womack. It's hella queer and kind of beautiful, as I said about it at the time. It's a lovely Victorian era mystery set in mostly Paris. It's super queer. It's got super lots of magic. It's just brilliant. Favourite mythology, The Night Ends with Fire by KX Song. This is a Mulan retelling, and it's got all the stuff you would expect from a Mulan retelling, and it's really got a strong sense of character and place, as well as the straight up story. It's really lovely. I keep saying that. It's really lovely. Obviously I love it, or I wouldn't be telling you about it. Not in this one. Okay, favourite retelling, which is a bit like favourite mythology and a bit like favourite fantasy, but you know, my awards, my choices. Favourite retelling, and I've got two for this. I've got Fashir's Wrath by Emily Varga, which is a Pakistani gender-flipped retelling of the Count of Monte Cristo, and if that doesn't sell it, nothing else will. And What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher, which is the fall of the House of Usher, but with the disappointment removed. But other than that, it's really, really quite close retelling. Favourite science fiction, Bridge by Lauren Beukes and Principle of Moments by Esmie Jikiemi-Pearson. These are actually completely different types of books. Like Lauren the Beukes is like more like a punk kind of cyberpunk, and the Principle of Moments is like an overarching epic kind of sci-fi. So yeah, if you want alternative realities, intergenerational relationships, grief and hope, and if you liked How to Sell a Haunted House, or you liked Lights to Leave the Room by Caitlin Starlin, Bridge by Lauren Beukes has the same feel and a similar, you'll probably like it, and vice versa. Principle and Moments, people have throughout the year have been saying, you know that book? And every time I've gone, yes, I do, it's Principle and Moments. And then they go, but like that, but without the romance with George IV. So if you loved the book this year and you'd like it with extra George IV, Principle and Moments by Esmie Jikiemi-Pearson probably wouldn't work for everyone, but it's the one that's most like all the books. It's the one that most encapsulates the discussions about books in 2024 I've been having, except with a romance with George IV. Favourite horror, Tell Me I'm Worthless by Alison Rumfitt. Trans body horror, Haunted House. It's horrific. It's gruesome. I just want to give Rumfitt a nice big hug at the end of it. It's just terrifying, and quite frankly, I'm utterly finding claim that her second book is better, utterly implausible, because it was just everything I want from a horror book, and a little bit more. Okay, favourite weird, The Book of Elsewhere by Keanu Reeves and China Mayville. This is berserker punk. It's so weird, but really very engaging. I'm told that there is a physical copy in my calendar for the year because my partner stuck an ebook into the middle of it, and then I started reading it on the library, and I was like, let me tell you about this book I'm reading, and he's like, yeah, let me tell you about your calendar. So yeah, so weird, so beautiful, so pink, so punk, and there's like one of those weird Indonesian pigs with the horns, and it's I don't know what to say. It's berserker punk. Favourite poetry, The Flame by Leonard Cohen. I have been talking about this on and off ever since I read it. It is a mixture of song lyrics and poetry that was put together that was what he was working on when he died, and was put together by his family. And it's just, probably I should go back and read more poems by Cohen, but there's just so much in there, religion and life and love, and he's got such a great appetite for all good things. Yeah, I definitely recommend it. And yeah. Favorite graphic novel, I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, which is a manga about friendship and terminal illness, and it's just so sweet, so utterly adorable. With an honourable mention to the Stag Gaze Club, which is about finding your niche as someone who's a bit awkward, a bit depressed, possibly a bit neurotypical. And yeah, really, both of these are really beautifully drawn. Favourite short stories, The Secret Lives of Church Ladies by Deesha Philyaw. This has everything from life. It's got all the kind of things that you might want through the vision of these people who just come together once a week, and they maybe only see each other for an hour or two, and maybe they just talk about the recipes, or they swap ideas, but then they've got this whole other life living away in the background, and it was just really lovely. And I listened to it as an audiobook, and it was just absolutely perfect. Favourite YA, The Diablo's Curse by Gabe Cole-Novoa. My favourite YA, or one of my favourite YAs from last year, is the sequel to that one. And it's someone who's a demonio who is under a curse, and they were trying to undo it. It's queer, it's Latinx, it's full of pirates, it's full of adventures in deserted islands, it's full of romance, and it's just utterly perfect. And I think there's one of Novoa's books which I haven't read, and I should go and read it. Favourite children's, Paulo Santiago and the River of Tears by Taylor K. Mejia. It is like all of those fantasy quest magical books I read as a child, but from a Mexican American standpoint and about queer Mexican Americans, and it is just perfect as a children's book. Favourite non-fiction, Crypt by Alice Roberts. This is archaeological pathology, and I found it utterly fascinating. Apparently it's the third in a trilogy, and I haven't read the other three, but her approach to trying to understand people from where they were at, rather than trying to look at it through a modern lens, like trying to take a step back, I found that really helpful and really interesting. Favourite biography or memoir? Ducks by Kate Beaton, which is a memoir of her times on the Canadian oil fields, and it's just so affectionately written, and it's a graphic memoir, and it's just beautifully drawn, affectionately written. It's really heartwarming, actually, and also at times it's sad, at times it's happy. It's just like all of human life is here. Favourite audiobook, Vital Organs by Susie Edge. Edge reads her own audiobooks. This is a sort of important man approach to medical history, but it's really humorous, and Edge she just feels like she's sharing a joke with you. Like, she wants this kind of intimate relationship with you as the listener for the duration of the book, and it's just so sweet and so lovely. And she's actually really funny as well as an author. So I think that is 24 books, and I will put the list down below, and I will see you soon. Bye.